Hey everybody, this is Kodak here. Well, Mattel saw my Battleclaw review and I guess they liked it because they sent me some more stuff. I actually really love getting boxes like this. I love showing them off. They put a lot of hard work into these. So I guess another thing I remembered is I didn't really go into a lot of the finer details like the differences between the Battleclaws or how a lot of the cards work. So I guess you can consider this an impromptu part 2 on my Battleclaw review. And today we're going to be taking a look at this box that Mattel has sent me. First of all, I love big flat boxes like this because I can use them as backgrounds for my reviews. Like this Battleclaw Hero, you can hear that. You can hear that rattling around in there. Like that big blue thing I normally use as a background was actually how I got my Beyblade Burst stuff from Hasbro. So I love this design here. This gives me some more options. It's great. So let's take a look at what we got here. We have Battleclaw. We have the Chinese name for Battleclaw, which I guess is yeah, that. It also says enter the Battleclaw arena on YouTube. It's telling us about how this show in English is being run on YouTube. It's going to be an interesting experiment. It's up to 18 episodes right now. Kind of a fun series. I only basically spoiled up until episode 4, so a lot has still happened. So let's take a look inside, shall we? In this nice, fairly solid box with all the nice honeycomb design on it. Okay. Ooh, look at that background. Got a fun background here, which is something you can really only see on this form. Capture, build, and fight, it says on the top. So what we have here is what looks like sort of something similar to what you get in the 2-player starter pack. We have the 2 Battleclaws. We have the Moyan's Dark Flame Battleclaw. We have Tai's Thunder Battleclaw. We also have a mystery thing here. We also get, this is basically what you need for a basic game. We have 3 Djinnlins per side, along with some cards. These cards are in kind of a foil gold. I also got a foil gold drawing strength from one of the tournament packs. I'm not sure how else these foil cards come about, because aside from this one here, I haven't like pulled any out of booster packs or anything. I've gotten a couple of boosters. So anyway, we have some cards here. One thing I forgot to mention about the cards is that they actually have a set symbol and a rarity symbol. The rarity symbols are in the top left. I assume the shape indicates what set it's from. We have bronze for common, silver for uncommon, and gold for rare. So they actually do have some rarities. They also have a collector number, and according to the collector numbers, the first set has 115 cards. So that's actually a fairly small set, although you do have to consider how many Djinlins you have to collect. Based on what I found, you of course have the Djinlins in the 5 basic colors, plus clear, that's 6 right there. And then you have the dual-tone Djinlins, and the dual-tone Djinlins come both ways, where each element is the inside or the outside. So that's basically another 20. So there's 26 of each Djinlin, almost 200, although, like I said, a lot of them are redundant. You don't really need to collect them all. It says that there are things that say capture all the Djinlins, but at the same time, there's not really that much pressure to, make a complete set. It's not like these slightly different colors have different names. I mean, you'll find more beneficial Djinlins as you go on, but continuing, they of course have some plus 10 tokens, and however, it kind of feels like something's missing, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't think they included the rules in this set, or if they did, I kind of missed where it was. I mean, it would have been perfect sitting right there, but there wasn't like anything in an envelope or anything, so hopefully the folks at home who also receive this will, hopefully they have a PDF to consult, or you can just watch my videos. I can scan this if there's no PDF. Anyway, moving on. One thing I did not do is I actually did not take a look at the Battleclaws, so I guess I will take a look at that and do that now. So let's start with Tai's Thunder Battleclaw. The Thunder Battleclaw, as I said in my earlier video, is probably the best Battleclaw that they have out there, or it's one of 2 of what I consider to be the best one. It has 3 claws, 2 that come in from the side and 1 that comes in from the top. It also has a blue pull cord and ring, which can actually be removed. So if anything needs to be replaced or anything, or if they ever put out like replacement pull cords, then that can be done. It also has some hard points. It has a couple on the side and a couple within the grabbing claw itself. I'm still not sure what those are for. Maybe if I manage to talk to one of the designers, I'll figure it out. but it is one of the most effective Battleclaws. Mine in particular seems to have a pretty sensitive spring that will close very, very easily, which is very nice, meaning it will get a grip on whatever's around it. But one of the things it actually does is it will actually cradle them, which is kind of like if you cup something underneath with your hands, what it'll do is it'll actually pick up the Djinnlins a little bit, lift them slightly off the ground, which gives you a very, very secure grab. And in this case, because of how wide the space is between their claws, there is plenty of place for the Djinnlins to kind of get cradled and kind of overflow a little bit here. So when it comes to catching Djinnlins, this is where you get like the big payoffs. I have easily caught groups of 4 Djinnlins with the Thunder Battleclaw. It is a very good Battleclaw, definitely a good choice to start. Moyan's Dark Flame Battleclaw, on the other hand, is easily the second worst. And I know you're looking at it, and it has like this big scoop here that looks like it would just go in and just grab huge swaths of Djinnlins to drag them back. But in practice, what it is more likely to do is it will actually lift itself over the Djinnlins and maybe scrape one off the top using the sort of bucket it has here. And occasionally you might get lucky and something will get pinched in between these parts of the claw here, but it does not cradle the Djinnlins the way that the Thunder Battleclaw does. So as a result, I have rarely ever gotten more than 1 Djinnlin with the Dark Flame Battleclaw. Maybe it requires a certain level of skill in order to use. It is supposed to be, you know, the bad guy's super claw or something like that, but for the time being, it is probably the second worst Battleclaw I've ever seen. And then we have our mystery Battleclaw in the middle, and it is, ta-da, Shan Shan's Tornado Battleclaw. Shan Shan's Tornado Battleclaw, on the other hand, is the other top-tier Battleclaw. Rather than the 3-prong design, it instead has a much wider 2-pronged approach, and it is very, very similar in performance to the Thunder Battleclaw, only rather than having the high payouts that the Thunder Battleclaw occasionally gives, it is a bit more reliable. In case you have a somewhat bad throw, when these jaws come shut, it closes at such a hard angle that there's a good chance that it'll grab a straggler if you have a bad throw. So you'll be getting fewer of the huge payouts, but a lot more of those desperately needed small plays. It's kind of good that the 2 Battleclaws that are the best ones are the ones for our main character and our token girl. Those are the ones that all the kids will be clamoring for, so it's a very good start. It also, because of these low barriers here, it will also cradle Djinnlins the way the Thunder Battleclaw will, so catching groups of 2 and 3, I'd say between the two, between this and the Thunder Battleclaw, they're about equal when it comes to that. So I guess it's really down to your preference. Do you want to risk going for that huge payout, or do you want something that's a bit more reliable? And the Thunder Battleclaw is certainly the one in the more reliable category. However, that's one thing I love about the box they sent me, is that this top level here is actually only just the beginning, because you can see on the flaps here, after we take a look at the basic game, these are the Battleclaws that are either sold individually in these sort of starter packs, and the Thunder and Dark Flame Battleclaws are actually included in the 2-player starter set. However, if we go underneath, what we find is that we are given the components of the tournament pack. We have what seems to be a complete set of all of the cards in the current set, along with a bunch of the puzzle cards. That's actually something I did not mention before about the border cards, is that they are actually puzzle cards that make up the Super Beasts, and the Super Beasts are ones that are 2 of the same animal. I'll go into the Super Beasts a little bit more when I talk about the cards, but we also have this final flap here that says capture all Djinnlins. And underneath that flap, whoa, is a whole gaggle of Djinnlins. We have regular ones, we have dual tones, we have some clear ones. How many clear ones have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 clear ones. Wow, that's like almost a complete set right there. I think that's, we got a dragon, a squid, a spider, an ape, and a rhino. That's basically everything but a scorpion and a snake. So wow, that's a lot of Djinnlins right there. That is quite the assortment of Djinnlins. So if anybody who has been receiving this as part of their YouTube promotion is going to have a lot of fun. This is going to be really fun to combine with my current collection. We got some really good stuff here. Anyway, let's actually take a look at the Battleclaws inside. Howland's Flaming Sun Battleclaw is the middle-of-the-road Battleclaw. I know I pulled off some pretty awesome stuff with it in my video, but this thing is still basically a worse version of Tai's Thunder Battleclaw. It has 4 claws, which unfortunately means that it's a lot more difficult to have that cradling effect. I mean, it will happen if the Djinnlings get kind of amassed in the center here, but it's not as reliable as the Thunder Battleclaw, and the fact that these prongs are so close together means that a Djinnlin can actually jam itself in these claws and prevent it from closing all the way, thus denying you a massive, one of those massive payouts that you might get with the Thunder Battleclaw, and occasionally with this one, but otherwise it is just a slightly worse version of the Thunder Battleclaw, still roughly the same in those regards, slightly less sensitive spring as well, at least in the case of mine. So, through process of elimination, we have had the 2 best Battleclaws, we've had the mid-tier one, and we've had the second worst one, and yes, Duppy's White Frost Battleclaw is the worst one. It is basically a completely inferior version of the Tornado Battleclaw. It has these large claws that actually hook over, meaning they're not going to be cradling anything, meaning you're going to have to risk dragging things. But the worst part, the thing that makes it worse than the Dark Flame Battleclaw, is this gap here. I guess the gap is to allow it to make a more precise grab onto some Djinnlins, but there are a lot of Djinnlins that are so narrow that they will just slip out of this Battleclaw. This is a Battleclaw to keep at arm's length. It is by far the worst one. So let's take a look at some of the cards. A lot of the cards actually do some really neat things. For example, I talked about how the monster cards have a Wuxing bonus that uses the destructive cycle. However, they have some cards that use the generative cycle of the Wuxing as well. And in fact, they've literally named one of these cards Harnessing the Wuxing, showing the generative relationship between fire and earth. Now, what this does is first you start with the fire, which is, the first effect is if you grab a fire Djinnlin, shoot again. And then, if on that subsequent shot you grab an earth Djinnlin, then you draw a card. So it shows that fire constructs into earth literally through gameplay mechanics. I love just how creative some of these mechanics can get on their design. And there's actually a lot of really well-designed mechanics in the game, along with cards such as that. There's a whole series of cards like this that involves every branch, every generative relationship on the Wuxing. Along with that, there are also some action cards that actually allow you to bring in and chuck an additional Djinnlin into the pile. So with cards like Rally the Squad, you can manipulate the Djinnlin stack to be even more in your favor, which is really important for a lot of builds, which I'm going to detail one of them in my discussion here. There are even cards that gain effects depending on which Battleclaw you choose to grab with. Every Battleclaw has at least one like this. Like in this case, it's the Flaming Sun Battleclaw. It's Halan's Battleclaw, and it basically acts as a permanent version of the Second Chance card, which allows you to take an additional throw once per turn each time you miss. And I don't know if that also stacks with additional throws, but still, a very cool ability to have, a very nice passive. All of them are some kind of passive ability, which is really great. And then we have the word perfect. In this case, we have the card Gargantuan Growth. It's a rare card. It says, if your attacking beast is perfect, it gets plus 50. Now, what a perfect beast is, it actually says right here, a beast is perfect if its Djinnlins exactly match both the Djinnlin pair and the primary and secondary elements. So, it has reminder text. It does say what a perfect Djinnlin is in the rules, but it's still as reminder text. It's somewhat clumsy reminder text. I'm used to reminder text being italicized and in parentheses, but they still implemented reminder text, which is really, really nice for them to do. It's the first time that the word perfect has appeared in the game, so reminder text is a really good idea to have. And on the subject of perfect Djinnlins, we have the card Terra Zog. Now, Terra Zog, if you notice, has two of the Djinnlin icons. Both of them are apes, and what these super beasts are is they are, as illustrated in episode 11, I believe, very difficult for somebody to summon, and that is because they basically have to be a perfect beast in order to come forth. However, in response to that, they have a very, very, very strong ability. In the case of Terra Zog, he basically kicks all of the power-ups that your opponent has played. Well, not the power-ups, he kicks all the Djinnlins and all the plus 10 tokens. So Terra Zog, whenever he attacks, whether he hits or not, basically sets your opponent back to 0. So that's a very, very strong effect. There are other really strong effects that these creatures have. There's one that flat out gets a plus 40 to attack to have a base 60 attack. There's another one that when it knocks out a beast, basically also knocks out a second one. There are some really strong, perfect beasts in here. But one thing I really like about the game is how a lot of the cards have interactions, and they're not necessarily obvious interactions. Like, a good example of the kinds of interactions that I like to see is actually from the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, where Utopia uses its ability on itself to nullify its attack in order to activate a card that triggers when one of your attacks are nullified, doubling the attack and allowing you to go again. That is an example of a card that is fantastic in a certain situation. However, it benefits more when you have that situation yourself. For example, Battering Beak here gets plus 30 versus beasts with no Djinnlins on them. Now, what if I were to tell you that there was a beast that every time a Spider Djinlin is put on it, will kick one of your opponent's Djinlins? Gee, I wonder how those two cards work well together. Same with these here. This one gains a plus 20 attack versus tapped beast. Well, gee, look at that. It's a beast that every time a snake is put on it, taps an opponent's Djinlin that has no items on it. So I really like seeing these kinds of interactions. Those are fairly obvious, but one of the less obvious ones would be drawing strength. Hello, parallel foil again. Which, once per turn, whenever you draw a card, you can put a plus 10 counter on the creature equipped to this, and the card Wild Fling. What Wild Fling does is you can have an attacking beast get a plus 10 bonus for each plus 10 counter you have on one of your other beasts. So, if you had one of your beasts stockpile a bunch of plus 10s, and then turn those plus 10s into an attack from a beast that your opponent's not expecting, that is another good example of card interaction, because you're basically stockpiling these plus 10s for free by drawing cards, which you can then have benefit somebody else. Another one is the card Landslide. Landslide is probably one of the best generic buffs in the game. What it does is it gives plus 10 attack, which is good on its own. It also gives the Wuxing bonus plus 20. Now, the Wuxing bonus fires about 40% of the time normally. So a card that gives a plus 10 and 40% of the time gives a plus 30 is a really, really good card on its own. But then when you add in abilities like Wyvern Weaver, Wyvern Weaver will always get its Wuxing bonus as long as it has at least one dragon on it. So that becomes a permanent plus 30 to Wyvern Weaver, or to a support card like Seasucker. Seasucker makes it so that your Wuxing bonus fires both when it's matching an appropriate element and when your opponent has a plus 10 on it. And the fact that it says or indicates that it basically gives an additional option. It doesn't like have a doubled up Wuxing bonus. So nicely written card text as well. It's easy to understand because of that or. So that is another good example of a card. This is a card that is a support card. It's one where you park a Djinlin on it, and then you use an attacking card that can benefit from its ability. There are a lot of support cards like this. But this is an example of just how strong Landslide is, although it is no match for the power of Scour the Depths. Scour the Depths is the water generic, and what it does is when you multi-grab, which is when you grab 2 or more Djinlins, you may add a claw action card from your discard pile to your hand. And what that refers to is that refers to cards that happen during the throw. For example, Bait and Switch, or the card I showed you before, Harnessing the Wuxing. Now, you can kind of see how well this would work together, because if you're constantly recycling the card Bait and Switch, which allows you to freely exchange the Djinlins you catch for other ones on the field, or the ability to constantly reuse Harnessing the Wuxing, you can essentially get an endless set of, you can get some free turns, you can be constantly recycling these throw cards. I'm not sure when the timing goes off on Scour the Depths. It's going to need work, but either way, whether it happens before or after you can apply Bait and Switch, you can still basically use the card Bait and Switch every turn. There's a reason Bait and Switch is a rare card. It's really, really good. This means that the card Dalo's Pincher Prison, which is a card that prevents the opponent from playing throw action cards, will actually probably be a very important one and see a lot of use. So the Dalo's Pincher Prison basically shuts down the Scour the Depth strategy. And then finally, there are the cards that are a bit more unique. There is Terra Zog, who I brought up earlier. Now, in order for Terra Zog to work, you have to have 2 apes on him. You have to get them both to be matching, and since you're only allowed to put 2 apes in your Djinlin stack, unless your opponent is also running apes, that can be very, very difficult. except for the card Troop of Apes, which seems to exist solely to get Terra Zog ready. Troop of Apes is if you grab one ape, then you can also yank another ape from the side of the field, and this is another one that needs clarification. I don't know if it counts as a multi-grab because you bring back 2 of them, but it basically is a card that allows you to set up Terra Zog every turn, and when combined with Scour the Depths, that means you can have, assuming you are able to keep both apes on the field, it means that you could essentially attack with Terra Zog every turn. And if you combine it with some more squid support, you can add in Rally the Squad, which allows you to put in even more Djinnlins. Apes seem to be very, very powerful. A lot of the better cards, a lot of the better support cards support apes, like we have Dalo here, but all of the main characters have a card that's like this, where it requires a very, very specific build of beast, like not just like any beast or like just a scorpion. It has to specifically be a scorpion snake, not scorpion or snake, but scorpion snake beast. So like only 2 cards in the game right now. 2 of them use apes. One of them is Ape Dragon, the other one is Ape Rhino, and those are Tai and Howland. So it's really interesting seeing how they've developed a lot of these cards. There are a lot more interesting interactions. I hope we see a lot more interesting card interactions in the future, because a lot of these are just fantastic. I've actually built a Terra Zog deck that is pretty scary if I can get Terra Zog to attack every turn. You'd basically have to get some kind of miracle grab in order to get rid of Terra Zog. But yeah, that's a look at the cards. So that's a look at the box that Mattel has sent me. I now have a lot more resources to work with if I wanted to show off some Battleclaw stuff. I can look at some deck strategies, I can maybe see if I can get in some gameplay. I have every single claw now, so I can demonstrate some more of that. So, this was actually pretty fun. I appreciate what Mattel has sent me. Mattel has actually sent me a bunch of stuff over the past few days, so I should be able to get a lot out of them in the future. Hopefully we'll be seeing some more Battleclaw. I don't know if we'll be seeing anything mech card related, but rest assured, I've been keeping my my eyes open for anything that comes up regarding mech card. Haven't seen any stateside yet. Apparently there's a bunch in Canada, but because it's in Canada, I can't really get at it unless somebody sends me something or facilitates something otherwise, like through eBay or something. But until then, Battleclaw is an amazingly well-designed game. If you want to kind of look at it for the cards or for the combination of the skill-based gameplay, which looks like it's actually going to try to make a comeback. One of the things I really like about it is that a lot of these collectible games require you, the fancy spring-loaded thing is the thing you collect tons of. In this case, you really only need one spring-loaded thing, and instead what you're collecting are much smaller, much cheaper components. So, really well-designed series. I really hope to see more from it in the future, and until next time, this is Kodak signing off.